Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. We are doing a combined show today. I'm so excited. And this is a connect through Podfest. So shout out to them. We're going to have just an open conversation of two podcasters in our journey. So I'm going to welcome Nye, aka CallMeKoffee, and her podcast is Koffee Sips Tea, and she's going to be interviewing me. So Nye, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, I can't believe that you did that. Like, you knew my name and like everything. You got the whole name right. Yes, you gotta say the whole thing. Coffee Sips Tea in the building.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Welcome.
So I'm interviewing you first. I've never done anything like this before.
We're
This
just
is
gonna
so cool.
we're just gonna see how it goes. And what I actually love though, when I was listening to some of your show,
Mm-hmm.
is you are very much the turmeric. You're like methodical and relaxing and easy to
Yes.
listen to. And then I'm the tequila where I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
So if you're listening right now, you're about to get soothed by her and then just spiked by me. So we've got all the things
Sweet.
happening right now.
Sweetness. And like, yeah, Jesus totally was into wine. So like have a glass of bubbly, I don't know, mimosa. Are you into
Yes.
mimosas?
Absolutely. I'm sipping lemon water right now because it's early on a Sunday, but I'm totally here for especially bottomless mimosas.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds so good right now. I do feel like I need a little drink, but
Hey,
that's neither here nor there. Okay.
it's
But
5
so
p.m.
like,
somewhere.
yeah. Well, how did you come up with the concept, turmeric and tequila?
Yeah, so I am a longtime athlete, longtime lover of fun and having fun and partying. And I got into the highly competitive athletic situation. And there was always kind of this box you were put in of like, you know, you shouldn't drink or you shouldn't do this, which I'm an advocate for, like once you're in the super competitive zone. That being said, I think balance to it and having your life and not getting so far into that competitive mindset, which you can easily get lost in, is brutal. So it's critical to have that balance. And I also come from marketing branding where everybody's trying to put you into boxes and stuff. And as you know, as we get into 2022, we know that none of us are any one thing. We are a balance of many things and wear many hats. So this podcast is, and Turmeric and Tequila is here to have those conversations about people questioning a better way and kind of doing their own path.
You're right. Because that was totally me, like watching exercise videos and just eating potato chips. I mean,
Yes.
I didn't feel like
Yes.
I feel like I worked out by like watching the infomercials. So that's kind of cool that you retain that party girl, that kind of feels. Were you a party girl back in college? Is that how you
Well,
were?
I played lacrosse in college. So
Okay.
lacrosse and rugby are notorious drinkers, to be honest. But we had
Okay.
like one day off a week. So we crammed it into
Yeah.
one day. So all my like high school crew, like my high school friends, they were partying, you know, 3-4 days a week. I remember talking to them and I was like, oh my God, we can never do that. But that one day we went in.
Yes, that's right. I mean, why? I mean, it's not fun to have a diet if you don't have a cheat day. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? I don't even believe in diets anyway.
Good.
Why restrict yourself? Just kind of work it into what you eat on a daily, like a salad with some fries, a burger
Yes.
with a salad.
Some turmeric with some tequila.
Yes, that's it. So when did you decide to go forward with like this podcasting and this concept? Yeah.
Being in marketing, so I'm just turned 42, so I kind of missed
Mhm.
Instagram and everything growing up, thank God. Like I didn't get
Mhm.
Facebook until after college. Like
Yeah.
so I didn't have like that influence in my role, but obviously as females, and you know, there's so much pressure in general to be a certain way. And I was coaching at the time, high school. I coached for 10 years out of college, high school lacrosse, and I saw the impact of social media firsthand of like my young girls or realities coming through the cell phone and the smoke and mirrors. And being on the marketing branding side, like I knew that I worked with fitness influencers and I saw how much was not true. And getting to know myself and do my own core values. And not top one is honesty. So it ate my soul to be like, God, I'm seeing this from my young people being impacted by social media. And then on the flip side, I'm in the marketing and branding world. I'm almost like a part of the problem. So I was
Right.
like, we got it. I don't know how, I mean, I don't solve the problem. We don't fix it, but I believe that you can contribute and be part of the solution wherever you can. I just felt compelled to, create this platform. If one person heard it or a million or whatever, of just really highlighting like what I call my varsity humans, questioning a better way. So there was an example of people doing things truthfully, the right way, outside of status quo, but it worked for them. So the Turmeric and Tequila was just about that balance and finding my varsity people to come on. Maybe they didn't want to be influencers. A lot of them don't, but they had
Yeah.
this really cool journey to share. So I'm like, if we can just somehow put examples of good people like you doing good things, questioning their own path. Like I love that our shows are completely different, but we're both kind of just questioning a better way.
Right.
I think it's important conversation, especially for our young people to hear.
You're right. And you're all about graciously disrupting the status quo. So
Yeah.
I like that because that's how Jesus was too. I mean,
Hey,
I'm not highly religious. I'm very spiritual. So you might hear me, talking about the word here and there. I'm sorry, you guys. That's just my thing. I lead
do
with the
you?
faith. So, like, how do you feel about that? Like incorporating your own internal values, finding other like-minded people to disrupt the status quo. And what does that mean, like, for you?
Yeah, so I think it's really important. I didn't grow up religious at all, and
Mm-hmm.
another reason I'm excited to have this conversation because between us we have two totally different points of view. But again, now we've come
Yeah.
to like the same conclusion, which I think is really magical.
Mm-hmm.
Or no conclusion, and it's just finding your path. But I didn't grow up religious, but I loved the idea of community and gathering. So I wanted to go to church, even though I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't really the message. I just like people getting together on a Sunday and like dressing up and eating good breakfast after.
You're
So
right.
I wanted to do it, but not having it as a child, I kind of sought it out as an adult, because I do think believing in something larger than yourself is critical. And
Right.
there's tons of studies out there that show that that's like one of the six pillars of well-being. And that's whatever you believe, just believing in something bigger. And
Right.
I don't know. I just think it's really critical. And I think that there's, you know, even if you're not super into like spiritual or the woo-woo religion, there is scientific proof of, how a lot of these religions started in one place and they're different versions of kind of the same thing. And I know people won't agree with me, but it's like it started in certain part of the world and like people digested differences and it's written differently. But if you look and compare different religions, a lot of it's similar. It's just labeled a little bit
Yeah.
different. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's so much conversation on it. And that's why I like your podcast because you
Mhm.
know a lot of the different things and you can kind of compare them. And I think that's really what it's about. So for me at this point, it's just having something larger and knowing that there's larger order to things. And being kind
Mhm.
of spiritually connected. That's what's the important angle for me.
That's cool that I'm hearing you saying like having connection is very important for you. Being authentic is definitely important and just aligning with your own core values and just having fun while you're doing that. So I really love the concept. And did you say that you were 42? I know we talked about it
Yeah.
behind the scenes. Sis,
Yes.
you look super young. You gotta
Thank
tell us
you.
your secret. Share your secret. You got a
This the turmeric
skincare
portion.
routine?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty
Okay.
intentional being in like health and wellness. And I didn't answer your question
Mhm.
about graceful disruption, but to me, that
Yeah.
is basically about, I put the graceful in there. I have three younger brothers and
Mhm.
we're not the most graceful beast. So like people ask me if I'm from New York all the time, in the East Coast, because I'm
Yeah.
pretty straightforward and talk fast, obviously. But
Right.
that grace portion is, we gotta disrupt
Yes.
things, but you don't always need to kick down the door. So that's mostly for
Yeah.
me. It's about cultivating conversation versus just shouting your opinion. Um,
Right.
but the health secrets, I think as much as I'm here for like Botox and blowouts for your hair and all that stuff, really I
Mhm.
think it's about curiosity and internal happiness and just feeling good energy and doing things you love. I saw that you are a very trained musician and singer. I'm
Mhm.
excited to talk about that.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I think stepping into your gifts keeps you young. I
Mhm.
think that kind of
Mhm.
stuff is equally as important, like more important than any of the physical stuff we can do.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Just trying to stay youthful, young. People have
Mhm.
told me that too, that I have a very youthful spirit. I'm almost 40 myself, so I'm getting up there.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I
Never would
just
have
want to keep
guessed.
it young. You're right. Right.
It's a
But
vibe.
I think that you're in your 20s. Exactly. You just kind of take life how it comes. I like your idea of saying cultivating conversation because that's what faith is always about. It's about having an open discussion and dialogue, you
Mhm.
know, and coming to some kind of understanding. So it's just that invitation. Let's have a dialogue, and it's okay if we don't agree, but there
Yeah.
are definite universal concepts like do unto others as you would have done unto you. Like that's just pretty universal. Just having respect for other people, having decency towards your fellow human beings. So yeah, and I love that you just are into health and wellness and that you're on the lacrosse team. I'm not too familiar with that. I have, hand-eye coordination problems, so not really my thing. But I tried to play volleyball. It was a fail for me. I was just like, nope, no more. Mm-mm. I
Well,
will watch.
you were crushing
But
the music game. That's why.
yeah, like yeah, I kind of did get more towards like music, singing. I sang in the gospel choir. I sang in the school choir. I did like theater and acting. That's really my first love. I did do some like mat stuff, and I
Okay.
did yeah, like, so I did that, like, I was a fitness master, but my style is really laid back, so, like, step aerobics back when it was really big, back in the,
Yes.
90s, early 2000s.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
They need to bring it
I'm
back,
totally here
okay?
for that. It's because it's like the
Yes,
music and movement, and it's awesome. And you're like, it's again, it's community. You're with a bunch of people. I love all that stuff.
right. So we're both, like, on the same page as far as, like, communal settings,
Yeah.
having healthy dialogue and conversation, and just a sense of culture, so I mean, as long as you're being yourself, it's okay. Like I just lead with myself. I know I'm socially awkward. I know I can be shy. I know I'm a person of color. It's all good. And that's what is so awesome too about podcasting. Like there's literally room for everyone. Just be who you are. And just respect does go a long way
Yeah.
and humility. So as far as yeah, the music thing, I just love it. It's one of my first loves. I've been singing since I was 7.
Yeah. Well, tell
So,
us a little about that. Well, I'll flip it
yeah,
to you now. I mean, tell us if you don't
okay.
mind. And
Yeah, of
I'll
course.
keep answering questions, but I'm so curious.
Yeah.
It's so
Uh-huh.
funny. So when I was reading your bio, I could not echo your statements and agree with you more of like how welcoming and wonderful the podcast community is. And even if we have
Mhm.
like our little awkwardnesses on things, like I had certain fear on getting on the mic, it is
Yeah,
such a welcoming space. So
right.
it's been so like awesome and healing and learning for me. But when I was reading your bio, one of the things I want to do, and I have zero musical background, I love music and I think it's such an important part of my world. But my
Yeah.
dream is to build a gospel choir. I don't know why. Or
Really?
yes, I swear. And so when I was reading that, I was like, oh my God, it's like my humans are showing up in my world that are connected to this. I don't know how it's gonna happen. I don't have any expertise in it. But anyways, when I saw it, I was fascinated with that. So I'm really excited to hear. Tell us a little bit about why you got into podcasting and like your background.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I started out back in 2018, but all of the things that I put out there were pre-recorded. I didn't actually go live until 2020,
Okay.
right before the pandemic started.
Okay.
So when the pandemic started, I was like, it was still kind of a joke. We were just like at the Podfest in Orlando. We were like, listen, the only corona we want to hear about is the beer. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but if you just want to do an elbow bump, we here for that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we were sitting down, we were having kind of a pod mixer, like a table event, and we were just kind of networking. And they made me, for some reason, the table leader. I remember that.
Okay.
And the girls at my table, we were going around talking about our podcast, the name of the title. Child, when I tell you, I didn't even have a title name yet. And
Okay.
there were so finally they came around to me and they were like, "Oh, okay, and what's the name of your podcast?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't really have a name. I'm thinking of calling it Koffee Sips Tea because I've been calling myself Coffee." And they were like, "Dude, that sounds so cute. That sounds
Yeah.
so cool. Like, why don't you just release it into the atmosphere? And like whatever happens, happens. Like,
Yeah.
why should you be afraid? Like, if it's not received well, so what? At least you know you did it."
Yeah.
And they were like, "And that's so cool that you already have pre-recorded episodes. So all you have to do is press go live. Like that's it.
Yeah.
It's so simple, so easy." And then I was like, yeah, like why am I sitting on this content for 2 years?
Yeah.
And then Chris Kremitos, I think I'm gonna butcher his name. He gave us a copy of his book called Start Ugly. And he was just like, dude, it doesn't matter how it sounds. At least you know you did it. You'll get to see the growth that you had from the beginning all the way to like where you are now. And I was just like, you know what? As much as this terrifies me right now because I'm not good at public speaking, I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. And those ladies really inspire me. So that's really how I finally went live, got into podcasting, came with the name on the spot
Yeah.
as I was telling it to the ladies. And here we are 2 years later. I've completed maybe a little over 100 episodes. People have been saying, "Hey, I like this show," and I just swallow the imposter syndrome and just keep going, in
Don't we
spite
all?
right, just in spite of the fear. You just keep
Facts.
going. And
Yes.
that's what it's about. So when I just gonna direct this question to you real quick. When you
Okay.
say like overcoming your fear, like how did you do that? Was it like the fear of public speaking, feeling like people were gonna judge you? Like what do you mean when you say that?
So being in sports, so much of my confidence comes from sports, and maybe you experience this with music because
Right.
I think it's kind of a similar thing. Like you get something you're good and you're confident in. So that arena for me,
Yeah.
no pun intended, was very comfortable. So it wasn't so much public speaking that I was afraid of. It was
Mhm.
more of just saying the wrong thing. And like as we know with
Oh
social
yeah.
media, like it's out there forever. Like there's tweets that are coming up for celebrities from like 6 years ago where they said
Oh
offensive crap.
yes.
So I
Yeah.
and we are coming off 2020 where there's so much around diversity and inclusion and me unpacking my own white privilege and all these things,
Mhm.
which I was here to do. I didn't really fear saying the wrong because I knew like I was going to say dumb crap at some point. Like that was no problem.
Right.
But it was just like, are we doing enough? Do we know enough? And what are we like? What's podcasting? No one really knows what's right and what's wrong. It's still kind of like the Wild West. So there's no like marker
Yes.
of are we doing this right?
Heavily unregulated,
Right,
which
right. So it's like who
which
like
we love.
yeah,
We
it
love it.
is. Yes. And on the flip side, that fear
Mhm.
was like comforted by the fact that like this isn't handcuffed. No one knows what they're doing. So just do it. But I also felt heavy responsibility, like I said before, knowing that like my kiddos are digesting this marketing and branding and crap off Instagram. Like their reality is defined by social media. I felt heavily responsible to show up and do what I would consider the right thing is like highlighting all these incredible people in my lives and like just share them as examples because they are so great. I'm like, I know this can disrupt some of what our kiddos are seeing. So I think the responsibility outweighed the fear would be my short answer.
Okay, so
How
you
about
feel like you had a responsibility to share your thoughts with people regardless?
yeah, and not even my
That's
thoughts. It's really more about my guests. Like I do obviously
okay.
talk a lot, but it's really I
Mhm,
had awesome people in my world because of my job. And it's like a lot of athletes and leaders and just talented humans. And I'm like, God, I just wanted like our again our young people to see what they're doing because they were such inspiring examples to me. I knew if I could
mhm,
just create some space for them to shine or talk or
mhm.
converse, like it would hit home somehow. So I
Mm,
guess just kind of blind faith.
right. Okay, I can take that to put you on the spot there. So it wasn't about being afraid, is that the people that you wanna connect with is more important than
Yeah.
any fear that you could ever have. Okay,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get it.
Do
And
you
there is a bit
Do
yeah,
do you
go ahead.
identify with that anymore? Like, did you when you were doing solo cast, like, did you feel compelled to
Yes.
share your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience?
I did feel compelled to highlight the stories of people around me,
Mhm.
in addition to my own, because I'm like, well, talking about myself all day, every day, I mean, it can get boring. I don't think that I'm that highly of an interesting person,
Oh,
but
dis
highlighting
disagree, but okay.
that's
I
just
think
just
I
me.
think that's good though. Humility is also good, not to interrupt you. So I'm here for
Right.
both sides.
Right, and then it's like it's humbling
Yeah.
to be putting yourself out there and also giving a platform to other people as well was always going to be important to me, especially uh, some of charitable deeds out there or just people that don't have that voice.
Yeah.
Because I think even before podcasting, back in 2017, I just wanting to do something more meaningful with my life, if that makes sense. Like
For
the
sure.
corporate grind, it just wasn't fulfilling anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had like this, I don't know, I just had this moment where I was just seeking God for myself. Like, you know, it's not enough for me to just go to work, clock in and clock out every day. I need something more
Yeah.
that can advance the kingdom of God. And I was just thinking about like what does the scripture says? The scripture says perfect and undefiled religion is this, to care for the orphans and to look after the widows. And then looking at my life and saying, does my life mirror that? Does my life reflect that at all? Or am I just making it all about me? So I felt like it was really important to highlight the stories of others in the
Yeah.
community, especially those that may not really have a voice. And bring glory to God in that way.
I love it. Cool.
Yeah.
Can you tell? Because I genuinely think your background is so fascinating, especially from
Okay.
someone that didn't come from religion. But like, can you share a little bit
Yeah.
about your background and what kind of drove you
Yeah.
on this journey of seeking your own truth?
Absolutely. So I did come from like a heavily religious background. Like I was in church pretty much 7 days a week. And if I had to describe my religious past was more Pentecostal. So just imagine like I went to a church school. I was in church on Saturday.
Wow.
And then I would go to church with my grandmother on Sundays. So I was in 3 different church churches, and I never questioned it. Like, to me, that was
Mhm.
really normal. It was the norm to just always be praying, like, 24/7. I didn't understand really what I was praying about or what I was doing. So I don't know so much if I was heavily indoctrinated. I don't know if that's the right word.
Okay.
But I was exposed to religion at a very young age. I can't remember a time when church wasn't a part of my life. So I was pretty much raised in churchianity, if I had
I
to
like
give
that.
that right.
So at what point, like as you know, so as a young, I mean, as kid, you were a good kid. I think I might have been a little bit more of a rebellion, being like, "What are we doing here? I want to go play." But
Yeah.
at what point were you like, "Okay, I've seen 3 church experiences, even if it was all kind of under the same umbrella of the
Yeah.
same religion." When were you like, "I'm going to question my version of this"?
That's a good question. So, like, I was a decent kid. I wasn't so bad. I think I felt like I was missing something, like I wasn't learning enough. There
Okay.
was just a tug in my heart, like there had to be more. And I was kind of searching for God on my own to have my
Yeah.
own relationship with Him, not just a religious experience, but like an actual relationship. And that's when the journey began. So this probably happened maybe in high school when I started getting into singing in gospel choir
Yeah.
and doing the fitness and doing theater and everything. And I was one of the people that was hand selected for a music group.
Yes.
And we would like travel around the tri-state area, being invited to different churches. And we were our own like private youth ministry. So and we did not consider ourselves a religion. We considered ourselves non-denominational. And I felt like Father God was pouring into us so much. Like we were being blessed. We were receiving so many gifts from God. And then we became arrogant. Cause
Oh,
like, yeah, like everyone, just imagine like you're growing up, you're being invited to all these different ministries. Your name is like the top of the line on the bill. And we even won competitions. We won national competitions. We were
okay.
supposed to be. So I think the first taste of like a little fame was like when we won a competition, we became first place. We told all our friends and families, like, hey, we're going to be on TV. Check it out.
Okay.
Blah, blah, blah. So all of our
Do we know this
friends,
competition? Was it like America's Got
it
Talent or something?
should I say this? Should I say this?
Yeah. I mean, I don't
Okay.
know. Are they listening? Are they going to get mad at you? Did you just sign
I
an
don't
NDA?
know. It No, I didn't sign an NDA.
Oh, I
So
think you're
I
okay.
mean, like, I can talk about it, but don't come for
Okay,
me
yeah, no,
for
whatever
my
you're comfortable with. I don't need
don't
the
come. Okay,
lawyers
I will
or
say
God
this.
coming at us. Yeah, no,
I
it's all
will
good.
say this. I will say this. It was a gospel fest. It
Okay.
was a nationally recognized gospel fest. They still hold it to this day.
Oh, I
And
would love to go to
we
that.
came in first place. But this
Yes.
is
Okay.
before we came in first place. We got that. We told all our friends and families like, "Hey, we're going to be on TV. Check us out. We're going to be
Yeah.
on the news."
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
So this should have been like my warning sign. So just imagine like all your friends, all your families, they're on the phone. We don't have cell phones just yet. So we're all on the phone, cordless, landline, whatever. We're tuning. We're up past our bedtime, waiting for the 11 o'clock news, whatever, coming on. And now they finally talk about this gospel fest. And whatever, whatever. They do mention that we were number one, but no footage of us.
Oh. Oh.
Nothing.
Oh, that's
It's like it never
heartbreaking.
happened. Yeah.
Oh.
Like
Boo.
what a bummer, right?
Yeah.
Like we're a bunch of teens, we're excited, our first taste of fame. Nothing.
That is terrible. So what happened?
So we went back to our regularly scheduled programming. We kept singing, of course.
Acceptable.
Right. But it was just like, I feel like some of us were thinking, there's a possibility that we may not become the next Kirk Franklin in God's
Yeah.
property.
Yeah.
So we might want to think about a plan B. We might want to, apply to a couple of colleges or something because we were meeting with like music executives. We were meeting with some of the top gospel artists. They were inviting us to come on stage and sing. But it's interesting. You don't know anything about us today.
Yeah.
So I feel
Yeah.
like that was kind of like humility,
Yeah.
because if you do become very arrogant and start thinking it's about you and not about glorifying God,
Mhm.
it can as easily be taken away. So I took that as a lesson personally. I don't know where my other members are today. I think we kept in touch and then kind of fell out of touch, as time
Oh.
went by. But I don't think I've ever shared that story.
This is what
It's
happened.
my
I love
first
it.
time.
I
We're
well,
having a
I
coffee
love it though.
tea moment.
How I don't know how you could say this isn't interesting. Like I have
Yes.
not interesting stories like that. But I
Yeah.
think that's well, number one, it's amazing that it happened because I think it's really hard. And
Yeah.
the music community and the music business is brutal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's
It
just
is.
it's I think it's gotten better because of social media and a little bit
Yes.
equal in air quotes.
Yeah.
But not really. Like it's a pretty slimy business, long and short. But I think it's
Yes.
amazing that you not only had that experience as a young person, but you could
Mhm.
digest it as you did of like, oh, I shouldn't be, depressed over this or whatever. I'm sure those emotions
Yeah.
happen, but you took like the
Mhm.
gold from it and like the lesson from it. I think that's amazing.
Yes. Yeah, at a young age, I was probably more mature than I am now. So I was very
I'm here for that.
inside. You're right. I'm growing in reverse,
Yes,
obviously.
I am too.
But back in those days, like I just saw God so clearly and like how he was moving and like God would bless me with a lot of insight at a young age. So when you have that kind of connection, it's hard to get like angry. It's hard to like
Mhm,
complain and grumble when you have that kind of insight at that age. Because God would always tell me like things are going to be okay. Like
mhm.
you're going to be fine. Like I blessed you with gifts too. Like there's no need to compare yourself to others. I blessed them, but I blessed you too.
Yeah.
And like if I have a word for somebody else, you can go ahead and give them the word, but you got to be careful too. Like God would also warn me, but he would meet me like where I was. Like I always compare myself to the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman,
Mhm.
because here she was saying like, look at a man that has told me all I ever did. Could he be the Messiah? And like her reaction to him was not one of shame, was not one of disappointment. It was one of excitement. Like, look, I'm having an encounter with this supernatural being. So I always describe myself as somebody who is messy. I'm a hot mess. Take it or leave it. And and feeling blessed to be able to share a message about the Messiah. So that's what she did. She brought everybody closer to Jesus and they asked him to stay. So
Yes.
That's my takeaway from this whole
Woo.
thing that we call life. Amen.
Amen.
You
Amen.
know?
Yeah. I
Yes.
yeah, you're super fired for saying you're not interesting, number one. But number two, I cannot agree with you more that like because I when I think about my 18-year-old self, I love that you just said that. I was
Mhm.
so clear on so many things. And now at 42, and I'm like, God dang. Like how am I losing grasp on what I had as a 0-year-old? And now I'm like wandering through the field, like one looking for like these arrows, which direction to go. So it's I think that's so um it's interesting, not to be redundant, but it's remarkable how young we can be and be enlightened. Because I think as you get older, you get filters, or you get doubt just because of society and whatever. But as kiddos, like we are clear on stuff, and it's like it's such a great exercise to think about your young self and lean back into what was always there, and
Oh, yeah.
let that provide clarity.
Yeah, so you said that you were into athleticism and you've always wanted to start a gospel choir. I think that's cool. I think that's amazing.
I don't.
But
I mean, have things come in your life? Maybe podcasting, that was the pull for you, but like, has anything come in your life where you're like, you feel called, you feel pulled, but it doesn't make sense at all, but you somehow followed it?
uh, it didn't make sense for me at that time to do. I'm a holistic creative coach too. It didn't make sense for me to do that. But once people started, once God made it very clear to me, like that's what He wanted me to be doing also.
Yeah.
Like He would send the clients, and one of the
Yes.
questions that would come up was like, "How did you find out about this?" Like one lady was like, "I literally had a dream of someone that looked like you. I had a dream of you,
What?
and then I was on the website and I saw your face." And I
Shut
was
up.
like, "Okay, that's powerful." Yes.
Yes. Oh my
I'm actually
God.
supposed to be meeting with her today.
Oh
So
shoot. Okay, I hope I'm not
she
interrupting.
right. No, but that's okay. Like, but like I was like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Like you're lying. She was like, no, seriously. I had a dream about you.
Oh.
And we were talking in the dream. And I looked on the website and I saw your face. So I
What?
said, that's gonna be my coach. And I was like, okay, girl, shut up and keep talking because this is not making
Wow.
any sense.
I
And so, and I had to be real with her. I was like, listen, I do not have any experience. She was probably like the second client that has showed up in these what we call hot sessions. And she was amazing to work with. And she would tell me like, I'm in my 40s, like who would want to hear me? Like she would say some horrible things about herself, and I
oh.
would be like, girl, but look at Tina Turner. Like that's
Yeah.
when she started her
Mm.
career.
Mm-hmm.
She was a 40-year-old woman,
Yeah.
and she started her life brand new, and she went on
Yeah.
to have an amazing solo career. So like how could you say that about yourself? That's so limiting.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, let me think on it. And I would tell her the things that I saw for her. And I was just like, I see something for you, but you don't have to believe me. Like it's really up to you. And she was like, okay. So then fast forward, the girl buys a ticket, hops on a plane,
What?
and ends up in Europe. I'm like,
What?
this what are you doing out there? She's like, I'm in France. I'm in southern France. I'm like, how did you get over there? She was like, well, you said you're always traveling and being adventurous. I just want to do something I've never done before. Like I've never left the States or whatever. I was like, well, girl, let me know your address so I can send you some goodies
Aw.
and that's the thing, like, people would just be like, "You believed in me when other people didn't. You
Yes.
believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself."
Mhm.
And that's all I needed. I just needed to be motivated. And, I think another girl, she became a self-taught DJ. She does production,
Yes.
music production. She just got up the same thing, got up, left, went to, a whole 'nother state. And she did whatever she had to do to make it. And I think she flies out and she DJs for people. So I'm just saying, like a lot of the limits that we place, they're limits that we place on ourselves.
Mhm.
Like when God looks at us, He sees abundance for us. He sees so many amazing opportunities. He can see the
Mhm.
entire journey. We can't. So for us, there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of uncertainty, but like if we trust him, or as like one student said, are you saying like to trust the process? Like I said, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Trust God's process. He definitely got this. He'll meet you where you are. You're a work in progress. And like we do those kind of like affirmations. We've had to build classes around that because it wasn't that people didn't have gifts. It wasn't that people didn't have talents. It was that people lacked confidence. Like that was like the major thing that I've kept running into with
Mhm.
others, even with myself. It was just like a lack of confidence. So
Yeah.
that's like one of the main things that I've had to build up with with clients. Unfortunately, before we could even begin actually doing the work, it was really just building up confidence.
Yeah. I hear that. Well,
Yeah.
I love in the beginning though that you are a coach, you are
Yeah.
an acclaimed artist and singer and like but you said like I'm a mess. And I love that cuz I mean truth again is
Mhm.
honesty is my top core value and I think
Yeah.
anyone's lying to you if they say they have it all together and yet in that mess I think that
Mhm.
is where the experience and the gold comes from for you then to
Mhm.
share that wisdom that you've gained. So like when you're saying like oh I wasn't experienced, you're my first client, the reality is like you grew up like in this
Yeah.
extraordinary experience as a young grounded human like you did have experience you just didn't define it as that because
Yeah.
it wasn't like society's resume but it
Right.
it is I do think it takes somebody else to kind of pull that gold out of you sometimes. Do you have a
Sometimes.
coach like is there somebody you go to perhaps it's the
I
Lord
actually do. I have someone that I go to for support because coaches need coaches, right?
for sure for sure
I actually go every Monday to Inner Circle, like a master class called Juno Rise. I've joined it with
cool
Cynthia Concordia. She's awesome.
okay
She's from the Philippines, very nice lady. And she reached out just to, just saying hi and how you're doing, just introducing herself. And she stayed in contact when I didn't have the funds, when it wasn't
mm,
in my budget. She just
mhm,
constantly she was like, and then I said, I feel so bad. I'm like, I don't have any money to give you. I cannot afford you. You're above my budget. And I don't want you to like lower your standards for me. Like, who is me? If you are a $5,000, coach per
mhm,
session, then that's who you are. And she was like, Nye, I don't do this for money.
yeah
Like I genuinely want to help people. Like this is why I'm a life coach. So I was like, man, that was so powerful. I was like,
oh
okay, girl, sign me up when you're ready.
yeah
Just sign
wow
me up. And then she finally had a program designed that was budget friendly but still honoring her price point. And we've been just meeting up every Monday. There's a lot of different speakers, there's a lot of different coaching tidbits. She asked me to actually do a guest session, so
yes
I did a coaching session with them. So like that's the thing about life. You just never know like who you're going to end up connecting with, who
Mhm.
you're going to have an opportunity with. I love how you call me an acclaimed artist. People do not get the wrong idea. I'm not an acclaimed artist.
You are though. I mean, you have extraordinary
I
you have like musical training. I'm not even talking about being on like the famous show or anything like that. Like
okay.
you have extensive experience in it. And
Uh-huh.
I mean, you have the ethos and the resume there. You truly do.
Okay. Okay. Well, you said not by society standards, which I like that you said that.
Well,
That's
the
awesome.
resume, because everybody wants to
Right.
see this resume, but how many things in life, like the hard lessons we've learned, aren't on the
Yeah.
resume? And like I've got 100 jobs on my resume that I didn't learn shit. And it's like, okay, well, I'm glad that it like, helps you sleep at night as hiring person. But the reality is
Right.
I could put 100 like athletic experience when I was taken off teams or like my heart was ripped out. But that
Mm,
was like that's what instilled the leadership in me. So it's just funny, like
mhm.
when I say society's resume, it's just because we
Yeah.
are so trained to just read what's on your LinkedIn. And that only tells like one
Right.
piece of the story, one angle.
But it's not telling the time when you got your heart broken,
Exactly.
when you went through social rejection, or
Yes.
when you had your first taste of something foreign, or you went off to another country. It's
Mhm.
not telling those life experiences. I hear you.
Right, and that's, like, the
That would be
important
cool.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. We should like rewrite our resume.
Do a different
Like,
LinkedIn site that's not LinkedIn, the
yeah.
truth.
Right. Not LinkedIn, but the truth. Here's my true resume.
I love it. It's funny that we're even talking about coaching because that's kind of been on my mind because I do a lot of like
Mhm.
leadership stuff and I'm like, God, does the world need like one more life? It's kind of like podcasting. It's like, does the world need one more podcast? And I always tell people, yes, I think everyone should have one because you using your voice, if one person hears it, like I just have such deep faith that it'll find the right people.
Right.
But it's funny that we're talking about this because so much of what you're saying is resonating with me personally. And I love that your coach like was so authentic in being like, I'll find a way to make this work. And then when the time
Yes.
comes, you do have the funds or whatever, like you say. And I
Yeah.
think to me, that just restores faith in humanity. Like there really are tons
Mm.
of good people out there.
Yes, there are. When they are so on board with just being in alignment or just being there to genuinely support you and cheer you on, like it's very rare to find those type of people.
Mhm.
And it's not about the money.
Mhm.
And that's, I don't know, it's just a gem. When you find people like that, you have to value them, you have to give them their flowers, you know.
Yeah.
But so you do coaching as well.
I not
Oh,
formal well,
you
so I've
wanted to.
coached athletics forever, and
Oh,
I
the coach.
I my biggest piece of advice for any coach is when I was coaching like my athletes is like coach the human first and then the athlete because you have to like
Mhm.
get to know them. And as you know, as we grew up, I mean, or especially in the corporate world, it was kind of like keep all your humanness out of this. Like you do a job, you're kind of like a soldier, like we don't care about your world. And now it's like you see Google and all these big companies putting in like napping stations and wellness stations and like therapy and all that. And I think that's so huge. And I've always done that, but I've never labeled myself as like a life coach or anything like that. But any of my athletic coaching was always about my kiddos and like their world first, especially our young people. I mean, they're going through so much nowadays, like things I,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
it's just a whole nother layer. And they see stuff. So I've just it's been coming up in my world a lot to do that on a more formal level. I've just been hesitant. But so anyways, perhaps this is universe coming through nudging me in
Right.
the right direction.
But you probably will end up becoming a life coach. I mean, you sound like one. Who knows?
Well, thank you. I hope that's a good thing. I never
No,
know.
it's a perfect thing. We need more. We need people to share like their nuggets of wisdom and their
Yeah.
insight and like where they've been. Like what, as you said, you've experienced being rejected on a team
Mhm.
and that, kind of developed your leadership abilities because sometimes as a leader, being able to serve others, you do hear a lot of no's. You have to know how to keep going in spite of the no. It's not rejection, it's just an opportunity, another one.
Yes.
So you're just being redirected to something better. And I'm sure you did get on a better team. Do you still practice today? Like if
Yes.
somebody was to okay,
So I
nice.
don't do lacrosse anymore. I still do compete in CrossFit. And it's been that is like my church. That's like me being able to move my body and feel weight lifted and like that kind of stuff is almost like spiritual to me. And I think it's very
Mhm.
like when you're competing to me, it's like the truth because there's nothing between like there's nothing to hide behind. Like when you're out in a lacrosse game or you're on the competition floor, like you are so vulnerable. Like what your abilities are, like it's all left out there. And
Okay.
I feel so like sensitive to like when I'm coaching or competing with my athletes or whatever, even if they're older than me, because I know what vulnerable space that is. And I mean, even
Mhm.
as a singer, like when you're singing, you don't. It's all out there. So if you mess up or you don't perform well, like there's no wall, there's nothing to hide behind. But on the flip
Mm.
side, it's so amazing because like your most vulnerable self sharing your gifts. And when people enjoy it, I don't think there's anything more validating or magical or connecting than being in alignment with that moment um
Mm.
and kind of I don't know living in it. So um I don't yes, I still compete and I think I do it now more for finding those moments than to actually compete, if that makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense. So you're in the ministry of fitness.
Hey, yes, I'm gonna write that somewhere.
Hey, I'm here for it. And then I looked it up. There's actual website too. So
Oh shoot.
dang, somebody
Okay.
got to it before you.
Oh
Yeah,
shoot.
but
Okay.
that's
Well, that's
cool.
okay. They heard it here first.
You could have
Um,
used that one.
I
But
know.
yeah,
So
unfortunately. That isn't that funny? Like something.
there everyone's got everything nowadays. Do you still sing? Do you keep that
Yeah.
in your world?
I do,
Okay.
but I don't know how to explain it. Like I love to sing, obviously. It's my first love. I will always love to sing. I'm gonna keep singing no matter what.
Yeah.
But as far as doing it professionally, not really.
Okay.
Now I just kind of do it behind the scenes. Like I've always wanted to be a background singer. But I've
Okay.
ended up doing a lot of acting, doing a lot
Oh,
of like small acting gigs. Yeah.
Yes.
So I've done that. I've done a little TV stuff in the background, just getting to know the process and getting to meet with directors. So that was really fun. And then I said I'll do uh, more like faith-based acting.
For sure.
And if it's more like inspirational, kind of like Hallmark TV kind of things.
I was literally just
So
thinking that. And don't sleep on
yeah.
Hallmark. They are a majorly profitable business. So not a bad pool to swim in 100%.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's for definitely sure.
Well, so
So
I'm
that's probably where I'm at.
I'm curious, like, let's put it just into universe now. What do you like? What do you want to do? What would be like your ultimate, or do you even have that figured out? I don't know that I have it figured out.
Well, ultimately, I would like to have a production company and have like a
Okay.
studio. Yeah, and just crank out content that's faith-based and just continue to support others in their journey.
I love this so much.
Yeah.
There's a girl I
Mhm.
had on my show that is
Mhm.
faith-based and has utilized TikTok. I'm gonna link you guys together just because I have a feeling
Okay.
there. But
Yeah.
I love it. And I love feeling feeling connected, but like this conscious conversation of um faith in any capacity, like really driven by something bigger. And I feel like it's coming up more and more. And to me, this from my myopic view, but I feel like the more it's coming up, the more people are reconnecting to something larger. Do you feel like that, like in your coaching, or do you see it more in your
I
everyday?
I do.
Oh,
Feel
good.
like a lot of people, even unbelievers, they just feel something that's bigger, that's connecting all of us. That's why I've always said all faiths are welcome. And faith is what drives me, but what is something that you may believe in, and that's your ministry. So something bigger, like whether some people believe it's the universe or whether they believe it's a deity in the way that I do,
Mhm.
um, or they believe in like certain universal truths. As long as you believe in like something, that's like a start because I mean, just going through life, not having any kind of belief in anything at all,
Yeah.
it can be a bit lonely,
Yeah.
and it can be kind of depressing. So we all need something, and just even if you believe in other people, even like if you have a mentor or somebody to do life with, having a partner, believing in your marriage, your relationship, your family, whatever it is, it's just very important to have something to kind of keep you glued together, if that makes sense. And we all have that. We all have that human connection at the end
Mhm.
of the day, and it's what drives us. It's what allows us to empathize with another human being. And I like to think that that driving force is love, and that driving force is God, just like how people came through during the pandemic.
Mhm.
People were stringing lights from one part of their block to another. You saw like the heart of
Yeah.
humanity. You saw the resilience in people deciding on their own to come together. So
Mhm.
that driving force to me, that is God in motion, in action. So
I love it. Yeah,
it is
it's
what
funny.
it is.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
hardest times kind of bring out the best in us. It sucks that it takes that, but it is some sort of silver lining where, like, I think our humanness, the humanity comes out, and all the BS
Mhm.
kind of melts away for a moment, and
Exactly. It
we
doesn't
see us
matter like
connect.
what color we were in that
Yeah,
moment, what our
yeah.
gender was, what our age was.
Mhm.
We were all trying to be a community. That's church right there.
Mhm.
That's true
Yes.
church, is really caring for one another. So I know that you were an athlete, maybe you might become a life coach, who knows?
Who knows?
But you also are a mother. Are you with someone now also?
No, I've got 3
Okay.
dogs, so no human
Okay.
children. You can probably
Okay,
hear them
fur
in the background
babies.
going crazy on the Sunday.
Okay.
But no, single, 3
Mhm.
dogs, podcaster, and
Awesome.
trying to maintain as an athlete is my LinkedIn resume essentially.
Okay, and I like that you have fur babies. What type of dogs are they?
Yes, I have 3 rescues, which is the most. But when my one turned 5, my second one I wanted because just to keep her youthful in the mix. Her name's Cleo. I call her Cleonce because she runs life. But my second one was a cattle
Love it.
dog, and the energy
Mhm.
is unbelievable. So I'm like, I think I'm just gonna get a third dog because this cattle dog needs another dog. So as irrational as that sounds, that's the dog story of 3.
Okay, that's cool.
It is.
I
They're so
love it.
awesome.
Yeah. So are you big on traveling? I want to hear more about the turmeric side because I feel like we know the tequila side of you,
Yeah.
but we
Um,
don't know the turmeric side.
well, I'm big on like core values, self-exploration, like understanding things. I think the way you
Mhm.
were seeking in religion, I was seeking in like meaning essentially. Cause like the way you were saying it was,
Mhm.
but I would just like brand that as more like meaning and purpose. Like what are we actually doing here? Like, does this job matter? Does whatever matter? So the turmeric side is more of like intentionality of I think dialing in your personal world as much as you can, because I do think that's how we like help the progressive whole.
Mhm.
But just finding like I've always been super curious on like religion, but intuitives, energy, like
Mhm.
physics, like quantum physics,
Mhm.
like that kind of stuff. I'm super
Yeah.
curious on like brain function, like how it all works together. Because
Mhm.
I mean, as you know, like you can be spiritual, do fitness, and then if your nutrition is trash, it kind of like impacts the other things. So you have to like
Right.
keep this whole thing together. So I've been fascinated by um kind of like how can I like burn the candle at both ends and then still like take
Mhm.
care of my body and be a good person.
Right.
Like do as much as you can but still stay in the lines essentially.
Right.
So that's kind of
So
like the turmeric side.
the turmeric side. Okay. So what is like a normal day in the life
A
of
normal
turmeric?
right right now I've gotten really good. I started a morning routine about 2.5 years ago. For an hour of journaling, reading. So reading, writing, the exercise is part of it, but I go straight to the gym right afterwards. Meditating and doing a little bit of stretching and affirmations. So I've been doing
Oh.
that. That's yeah, an hour in the morning, and then I go straight to the gym, and then we come home, walk the dogs because they're the priority. And then we
Mhm.
get to work and just do computer stuff. And I'm guessing like you with the entrepreneur side in motion, every day's a
Yes.
little bit different.
Mhm.
Um, but computer and then, easy. I like easy evenings, like good food, make something. Or, if by chance we're doing a podcast or something, we fit things in. It's a little bit creative every day.
Okay. What's your favorite food?
Favorite food? Does tequila count? I'm just kidding. I I would say, shoot, what do I love? I did a whole paper on um chicken because not that I love
Mhm.
chicken, but I'm like it's has the most protein in it and blah 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 the functioning. But like if I really got to choose, um man, I love burritos. I think burritos are
Yeah.
awesome and they're good on the go.
Super good on the go, especially
What's your
when you're
favorite food?
busy. I love island stuff. Anything
Oh,
island, throw it at
okay.
me. I will definitely it's finger licking good, so
I love it.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Are you a good
So if
cook?
you know what? I wouldn't call my cooking good, but it's
Honesty is
eatable.
critical. Honesty is critical.
Right.
Okay.
You know what? If somebody came to my house and asked me to prepare them a meal, I would say you might want to order something as a backup.
No, you order
You
it and
know?
just put it on one of your plates. That's like the go-to.
Yeah.
Throw away the branded napkins.
Right. That's funny. If you like go to a housewarming party and they're just like, okay,
Yeah.
we're having
That
company over. Okay.
that's hilarious.
DiGiorno's. No,
You don't
not
yeah,
sponsored.
DiGiorno. Oh my god, yes, that's absolutely I freaking love
Hmm.
DiGiorno. That's one of my favorite
Yeah.
frozen pizzas.
Nice. Loves it.
They
So
need
if
to
I came
sponsor
to,
our podcast.
yeah, you should. Do you have sponsorships stuff?
No, well,
Okay.
so I that's kind of my business. Like, so my consulting company,
Mhm.
that's kind of what we do, like strategic partnerships, like building community and ambassadors and stuff. And
Mhm.
I haven't because number one, it's still like the Wild West, and a lot of companies don't want to pay too much. And like this is my
Yeah.
passion project. Like I don't want to be handcuffed by anything, and I don't want to give it away for free. Like it's certainly not perfect. Like it's a work in progress. Like it's still kind of
Right.
a mess in the best
Mhm.
way. But
Mhm.
I don't know. I want to monetize it the right way. I'm clear on what I want to put out there, but
Yeah.
I don't want to just give it away. Have you explored any of that for your show?
I've tried to. It's very hard
Yeah.
because you also want it to like align with your core values. You want it to make sense. You don't want to
Mhm.
feel like, oh, okay, I'm just branding just to brand.
Exactly.
But I love that you are heavy on brand partnerships and bringing that humanity into
Yes.
the marketing arena. So what are some ways that you do that?
Oh, my best advice. I did a really good podcast. I can't remember what it is, but it's like monetizing your passion. I always tell people to listen to that
Mhm.
because the number one thing, especially with working with influencers, you don't
Mhm.
want to let these companies use you because we can't rebrand ourselves, if we have a million post signs in our yard,
Right.
our audience is going to lose faith in us, and we're just going to look like we're going with anyone. So once we lose that
Mhm.
authenticity and like that trust from our audience, like we get used as the influencer, as a podcaster or whatever. So I always say be mindful of that. Which you already know in what you just
Yeah.
said, like being authentic. But the good news is nowadays there are really intentional companies like certified B corporations and nonprofits and big companies that are on diversity and inclusion, and like you can get to their core values. So I always suggest, like, if you want to monetize, go like make a list of your 10 favorite things you already use, like we're already talking about, like DiGiorno or whatever, and
Mhm.
go then do some research on the company, find out, do they speak to your core values, do they speak like you speak, do they believe the way you believe, and then start that path and reaching out to them. Like look on LinkedIn, who's running what, hit them up on Instagram. I mean, you don't always have to go through agencies, which I would actually suggest you not do that, because then they control the relationship. um
Mm.
it's a pretty in-depth conversation, but in a nutshell, just go after stuff you're already like a fan of, you talk about, and those are the companies you want to work with, and because you already have authentic endorsement, and then obviously make sure that their core values line up with yours, because that's the long-term play. um and find a way to reach out to them, and there's some like pretty strategic ways to do that, but companies are more accessible than ever. It's not like how it used to be where you can't get to the marketing person, you can't find them. I mean, go on LinkedIn and Google who's running marketing for DiGiorno or whatever, and just kind of work your way in to see how you can get connected.
Right. That's true. I've heard that's the best frozen pizza too.
It
I
is.
don't know.
The rising crust.
And again, we're not sponsoring them. We're not saying to go out and get them.
We're
It
not yet.
came up randomly. Oh yeah, maybe Kristen will
I
go out
got
and
you.
get them.
We'll see. Yeah.
But as far as the turmeric side, I like the turmeric side. I
Thank
feel like
you.
it's cool. So do you or do you cook with a lot of turmeric?
I do, because I it is actually, so it's like the best anti-inflammatory, like natural anti-inflammatory you can consume. You want to consume it with black pepper because it's a little more bioavailable. But anyways, it's usually like in curries or Indian food, but it's phenomenally healthy, and it really is an anti-inflammatory, so it's good for like your joints and your body and general inflammation in general.
Okay.
I honestly don't love the flavor. I feel bad saying that, but
Yeah.
I put it in everything anyways, just because I know it's so healthy, and I don't not like it. I just don't like love it.
Right.
But it's good, and
Um,
for the power of it, it's just worth it. Just eat it.
hey, my show's Coffee Sips Tea, and I don't really like coffee. So,
Really?
I mean, yeah. And
Okay.
my name is CallMeKoffee. I like iced coffee. Like
Okay.
that's pretty good.
Are you a
But
big
if
tea
you were,
drinker?
I love tea.
Okay.
Yeah. So tea is the bomb.
Okay. I'm here for
Yes.
tea.
So,
I love dandelion tea, like a detox
mm,
tea. I'm with it. Okay. What's your favorite tea?
yeah. My favorite tea. I love a good chamomile.
Okay. You have to
Hmm.
have a tea sponsor. There's got to be some company you
Yeah.
love. That's
I've
got to be
never
your
thought
first
of
one.
it.
Oh, for
That's so
sure.
funny. In all these years, I've never thought of it, having a tea spot.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Oh, yes. Write down your
There
favorite tea companies and like literally put down all your like little media kit, like your information, and you got to hit them
okay.
up.
So you just helping people get their brands together. Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Bringing the humanity back to branding.
That's what's up. Well, because here's the circle. The thing is, like in
Mhm,
reality, most of my clients do get it because I'm attracting a certain person right now. But
mhm,
it's not even about making money. It's about, if we know, like kind of going back to the beginning of like social media is kind of like the defining reality for everybody, but particularly our young people. If you can get in there with
mhm.
like conscious brands and whatever, you're getting paid, they're getting paid. But we're also like elevating good people and getting out there, and we're disrupting like some of these other companies that are trash. Big food, big pharma, like you're
Right.
interrupting what's going on. So it's so much bigger than even just getting paid or sponsorships. It's like you're aligning with like-minded business people, and then
Mhm.
showing that partnership, that community on a larger level. A little
That-
cliche, but true.
That's true. And I do like that you say that. And just getting back to branding and partnering and just overcoming and just graciously doing this.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
We try to do it the right
Yeah.
way. I mean, what
Mhm.
in your business and like in what you do, I mean, isn't there kind of only one way as you get older? Like you just can't do it the wrong way. Like it's
Well, yeah, and that's the whole thing. I feel like you're a rebel with a cause. I think I told you
yeah.
that. There is no right or wrong way to doing these things.
Yeah.
It's just taking it one step at a time and just seeing how you go from there. But as far as like partnerships go, what is a partnership that you would want to have?
Well, tequila is kind of on the top of my list. There's a few
Okay.
companies that are woman owned. They've sourced an all woman owned agave factory in Mexico. Like they're really intentional about what they do in diversity and inclusion. So there's a couple companies I am manifesting partnerships with.
Cool.
I would love to work with like a turmeric company, obviously. And
Mm-hmm.
then just some of my favorite, like I love Sonos speakers. I think they're the best. Um, oh God, there's like a few things. I'm drawing a blank on some, but like just like favorite foods, like just things I actually use in my life, even though it doesn't seem directly applicable to turmeric and tequila. It's
Mm-hmm.
mostly companies that are kind of like disruptors as well.
Yeah, that's true. We do need more of that. We do need more
Yeah.
branding that is really positive and really helpful and not just, as you said, just being a trash company, just trying to make a profit. So you're not trying to just be a corporation. You're just honoring like the humanity of the person. Like that's what I see you doing, like being more intentional in that and who you're partnering with, who you're aligning with. So that's
Yes.
always good. Keeping it
Right?
positive with coffee.
Yeah.
Um, well, usually on my show, like when we're kind of wrapping up a little, we kind of say some words of encouragement to people who are going out there. I don't know if you have like a closing on yours.
Um I usually just say like where do we find you? Give me your things, but I like the words of
Okay.
encouragement. Let's take your lead here. You tell me how do you close the show? I like this.
Yeah, so usually the guests will just say, if for anyone listening, we call our community lovely lattes. So we just say
Okay.
anyone listening, give us, give some words out there for anyone listening, how you can encourage them.
Okay. Well, I felt encouraged today talking to you, so I will take that what I digested in I'm inspired by your open-mindedness, especially coming
Mhm.
from such a faith-based background where I would
Oh,
probably stereotype that as like things need to be done a certain way in a nutshell. So
oh yeah.
I would just say open-minded, like stay open-minded, cultivate conversation and just be excited about those opportunities to converse. I think even us talking about like our fears in podcasting and things can go wrong, you can say the wrong things or make mistakes or whatever, but I think the good so much more ways outweighs the bad, and the gold that comes through in those conversations is everything. So just being open-minded to connecting and talking to people.
Awesome. I like that.
Yeah.
Staying open-minded, cultivating
Yeah.
conversations and just sharing, and that's cool in an open sharing environment that's positive. So and then you said that you sound like a super organized person, which is weird because I come from a faith-based background, but I'm super laid back and chill
um
and can be messy, and then you are just like not really super faith-based but
yeah,
super organized.
I don't
So
know. I don't know that
yeah.
I think I'm too married to I'm like a pretty juxtaposition on most things where I'm like
Yeah.
both sides of the coin. So I'm organized and intentional about my business and my fitness. And then my
You're
life,
right.
like if you can hear my dogs flying out the window, like that there's other parts that are just total chaos and it's not organized. And even though like I'm not like organized religion, I'm deeply into like energy and spirituality. And so it's kind of like yin and yang on a lot of things. But I'm glad it appears a certain
Right.
way.
Well, if you had to define like your spiritual path, your spiritual background or where you are now, how would you define that?
I think I would just say spirituality in general. I've leaned
Mhm.
into like organized religion a little bit, like kind of like
Okay.
non-denominational whatnot. And I go to church on Christmas and those things. So it doesn't resonate. And I actually watched Transformation Church on YouTube for a while.
Hey,
Yeah, such a
they're
production.
cool.
But one of the
Mhm.
days, we won't digress into this too much, but I was watching it and the
Yeah.
second I turned off, one of my paintings fell off the wall and unplugged my TV. And
Oh,
I know. And
that was probably the devil was
well,
attacking you.
I guess so. I sat there and I was
It's
like,
a
"Oh my
spiritual
goodness."
attack.
I know. I've heard different because
Mhm.
I've asked intuitives about it. I'm like, "Is this a thing? Like, should I I'm super weirded out by it."
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was just kind of like I felt it was like a message that like that version of church wasn't my version. I'm
Mm,
definitely here for larger order and whatnot,
okay.
and something bigger. But I don't even know that God's a guy. Like I don't know that like
Mm.
there's just certain
Well, he doesn't, is from what I've learned, he's not really, he doesn't have a gender. You
right.
know, he's
That's kind of what I've
spirit.
yeah
Yeah,
yeah
but we call him we call we call our deity. He, it's just out of respect,
yeah
like mankind. When we say humankind or to all men, they're not talking like a specific gender. At least that's the way that
right.
it's been conveyed to me. So,
I hear that.
but I don't know. I've heard people refer to God as a woman and the divine feminine and all that stuff. I don't really get caught up in it, but if that's
Right.
where they are, then more power to them. Like, I'm not here to convince them like my way is the best way, because I understand there's like over 7 billion people on this planet. Everyone
Right.
sees things a different way. They have a different upbringing. Who's to say like your way is the right way or my way is the only way or my way is the right way? Like, I that's not a decision that I want to make for someone else.
I
You
completely
know what I'm
agree.
saying? So
Yeah.
I'm just saying like this is what works for me, and I'm here to share and take from it what you will. Like, it's open for everyone. Like, I cannot, I don't need to sell God. I don't need to sell the scriptures. I don't need to sell the Bible. I literally don't have to do anything. It's just grace has been given to me, and Father God works through me. It's not about me, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if
Converting.
it
Yeah.
makes any
No,
sense.
that totally makes sense, and
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
that is the most inspirational point when you're not in, like, the sales mode. I think that's when it
Right.
welcomes it all in. To me, like, kinda what you're saying
Right.
is it's just all branding. Like, I'm so with you. Like, I don't really get caught up in, like, the labels of it. It's more just, like,
Mhm.
the underlying message. Like, how are you showing up and what do you believe in? And however you
Right.
package it's fine, but, like, it's just how does it inspire your daily actions is kinda my
Right.
takeaway.
And that's the thing too, like with churchianity is like a lot of corporate stuff and
Mhm.
501c3. I'm probably gonna step on a lot of toes. Oh well. But it's like we've become so corporate
Oh, for
in our
sure.
style of worship that we really forgot like the community aspect. We
Mhm.
forgot about, the shared culture of it, and just saying, hey, if you would have asked me, I would have given you living water, you
Mhm.
know
Mhm.
and then, oh, come see a man that told me all I ever did. So that was just him saying, hey, like, I understand you have your laws, I understand you have your religious rituals, but now it's a time to get back to the original way of like when we were in Eden, when God said that we were very good in the way he created us, and not trying to create a man-made thing around it.
Yes, yes.
I don't.
I mean, would you agree too, like, if you're intentional about stuff, like, it'll find you?
Of course, if you're
Yeah.
if you're being intentional in what you're doing, you're gonna eventually meet people, and once you meet people, either the opportunity is gonna present itself in a way where it aligns with you and you say yes, or you may get redirected to something else.
Mhm.
That so it's not really you're rejecting anyone, no one is rejecting you. You're just like constantly recalibrate recalibrating your path,
I
if
love
if
that.
that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's life in
So
general.
yeah, that's life in general. Like, you can be intentional all you want, but sometimes it just wasn't right. It wasn't that particular opportunity was meant for you, and you'll know.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
at the same time, if it may not just be the right time for that opportunity.
Mhm.
Just like going back in the beginning, like we thought we wanted to be gospel stars and we thought we were going to be the next best thing
Yeah.
in the gospel arena, and the door just quietly closed. So a lot of us kind of had to go to a different plan, but the path was still there. Like, and we still gonna end up one place anyway. However,
Yeah.
on the journey there's gonna be a lot of stuff, a lot of things, and it may seem like it's a coincidence, but it's really not. Like, everything was already planned out and thought out way before we came here. So I kind of believe in a little bit of predestination and a
Okay.
little bit of us having an intention, and we can have the best intentions and be very intentional, but our steps are pretty much established and ordained for us. And it's very hard for us to go too off track from that.
Amen. I
Yeah.
agree with you. I do think you have to show up, whatever that means. I
Yeah.
think you got to somehow show up and then, but I do agree there's an order. Like,
There is an order to things. If
yeah.
we do show up though, that is kind of making an intention.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is
Agree.
showing
Agree.
intention, just showing
Absolutely.
up. Yeah, I
Agree.
agree with that.
Yeah.
But as far as we are able to control every part of our life and our destiny,
Hmm. Oh, I think that could be
don't
your
really
wise
agree with
words
that.
to the lattes. Well, because you can
Yeah,
fight it, you can think that. But I mean, as we get older, that's probably one
yeah.
lesson I've learned time and time again. It's like show up, do what you can, but truthfully, like there's so much we don't control, and that's just the way it is.
Yes, yes. Well, do you have like a name for your community?
No, not really. I mean, like I said, I
No.
kind of do my
Okay.
thing with like intuitives or like I go to a church like once a year for during the holidays and my like
Mhm.
gratitude and just like my daily practice, like my morning routine is probably like the most like air quoting like religious thing I do.
Mhm.
But to me it's like mostly just being around good people doing good things, like people I want to be like. So
Mhm.
then in turn, I'm the most useful for this world. I don't know if that makes sense. That's kind of like the end game and like the way I keep myself accountable. And because
Mhm.
there's a quote by Benjamin Franklin, and it says, I'd rather it be said he lived usefully than died rich. And
Mhm.
that's always just resonating because I think we're here to be useful, like to give what you can and do what you can. And I think when you are taking care of your business, like that's when that you are useful.
Okay. I love it.
So I don't know if that's religious or
So
not, but
when you're
that's what
taking care of you and then taking care of your business. So
Mhm.
you believe that if you take care of yourself first, then you'll have more to like give to others?
Yeah, and not from like a selfish space, but
Mhm.
more of like if you are, especially if you're in like a leadership role, like really dialing in and like
Mhm.
unpacking stuff so you can be the most useful to others in whatever way that is. Doesn't even have to be like grandiose
Right.
gestures, just like mindful, opening their door or like little stuff to just be a
Right.
contributing factor in society.
So how are you like what's your way of contributing to society as far as like branding and marketing with others? Like how are you able to connect them to their opportunities?
Well, so right now, even over the past, like after COVID, I started, well, probably even before, but I didn't really consciously call it, but we work specifically with mission driven humans. So
Okay.
people that are aligning with like 501(c)(3)s or certified Bs or companies that are somehow presenting their core values before their angle on profit. Like, so back in the day, a lot of companies were coming in and it's just like, we started this company because we saw the margins and it was amazing and we started selling cell phones or whatever. Nowadays it's like I started this cracker company because my kid could only eat gluten free, so I designed these crackers and this recipe, and now we're doing this. Like we're here to make money, but like we're doing it because like we're mission driven in this providing a better thing for like the gluten free community. So we truly
Mhm.
work with the companies that are intentional in that capacity. And again,
Mhm.
because that to me, like, yes, we need to make money, we need to be profitable, but really we're disrupting some of these other situations that are just there for margin and they're not maybe telling the whole truth on their ingredients or whatever they're doing. But here's this company that's doing it like the really hard way from a really core value driven space. That's who we
Mhm.
want to work with. Um,
Okay.
so that's
And
kind
so
of how it
what
connects in the business world for me.
right. So you said you were doing cell phones? You were trying
Oh
to
no, that was just an example.
okay. Oh,
We've
just an
worked with
example.
a tons of like I do a lot with consumer packaged good companies,
Mhm.
like crackers or lots in like not lots, but a little bit in like supplements or like turmeric stuff. And we work
Okay.
with those kind of companies.
Okay.
Um,
So give me like an example of like when you did that.
So we just did, well,
Mhm.
2 years ago, right when the pandemic was happening, we worked with Red Bull, which, I'm not big on energy drinks, but we worked specifically with their Wings for Life um portion of the company, which is their 501(c)(3), and it directly benefits spinal cord injuries. So we were
Mm.
hired to build out the Denver leg of this race where it's a
Mhm.
worldwide race. Everybody gets on their cell phone, and it was ironic that it was the pandemic, but you could literally run through your cell phone, like get on the app, and then everybody in the world is running this race at the same time, and it benefits this spinal cord research. So
Nice.
it's like here you have this traditional company, Red Bull, but we were
Mhm.
specifically on the side of the 501(c), the nonprofit, but community building, spreading the gospel of like what they're doing at spinal cord injury, that kind of stuff. So we're like that's more our sorts of projects and the things that we like to work with and promote.
Okay, I like that. So everyone was on their phone and they were doing a race. Was it like a virtual race?
Well, 2020 literally was happening at this time. So there was an in-person, that's what we had
Yeah.
to do, is build the Denver leg. But as things were shutting
Mhm.
down, everything went digital. So we were fortunate that the digital option was even available for this race. And now there's tons of races that have this digital option. But it was digital also because it's all over the world. So everywhere in the world, like some
Okay.
people were getting up at 2 a.m., some people at 10 p.m. But that's how, if you couldn't do it in person, you were on your phone logging in with everybody at the same time.
That's cool. So everybody was logging in and what were they saying? They were like checking in and they were saying,
Well, they had built out, Red Bull had built out this whole app, and Wings for Life
Mhm.
had built out this whole thing where you get on and then it tracks you, and so you could show like where your team was, what time you ran, it'll place you, like it put everybody kind of in the same space digitally. So they had like this whole extensive app that put it all together.
Okay. All right. So they were putting together and I just want to hear more about this. I think this is really interesting.
It's worth looking up. It's really cool, and they've done a great job. They've raised, I mean, millions of dollars. But it's pretty cool to see like
Mhm.
the world come together literally at one point and get on an app and run together. It was pretty, and it was during the pandemic where we're all,
Right.
super cut out and disconnected. It was like a really cool connection point.
It was interesting too because a lot of us were kind of already prepared and people were just hopping on Zoom. It felt like it
Yeah.
was more more meetings
Yeah.
virtually than it was in person, which is hard for the my inner introvert, of course. But so you had a wing for life. They were funding a spinal cord research
Mhm.
through Red Bull, and people were physically running, but also checking in on an app.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So basically
great.
everybody was on the app, but there was like meeting points in different parts where you had to run like 6 feet apart. Again, it was kind of just like, it's not how it
Oh,
has
wow.
normally been done. But there
Yeah.
were like groups that got together and ran.
Okay. Were you
Yeah.
running in this race too?
I did.
Or it
Yeah,
was just oh, nice. Okay.
it was set up where you can run. You ran as far as you could. Oh God, I can't remember. It's been a couple years now, but you ran as far as you could,
Mhm.
I think in like an hour, or and then like there's this car on the app that catches you. And once you were caught, you were done.
Okay.
To maintain a pace. But yeah, I think we ran like 6 or 7 miles. It was longer than I thought.
Cool. So, would you do any marathons like that today or
Oh,
have you
I
set
don't
no?
know. I don't, I've done a half marathon. I don't know if my body,
Uh-huh.
my like knees and stuff, I don't know if a marathon's in the deck of cards for me, but
Okay.
to check it off the list, I'd like to do it. But like, do I want to do it?
Yeah.
Not really.
I think you should. If you
Okay.
did. If you wanted to, of course,
We'll
if that
see.
was
We'll
your
see.
thing.
You never know.
Because yeah. So, what do you do at the gym? I'm kind of interested in your routine.
CrossFit. So it's all
Okay.
things. I'm one of those. I'm a little bit more balanced now, like I said, because we're just taking care of the body at this point.
Mhm.
But yeah, I competed for so many years. It's nice to get back into it and love it again because you have that skill set.
Mhm.
So I do a CrossFit class, a little bit of lifting and a teeny bit of cardio in there, and hang out with my fellow CrossFitters.
Okay, so CrossFit is like a little bit of everything.
At
Is it
the
like that
gym.
running back and forth with the legs?
Yeah,
Oof.
it's like cross training. I mean, it's kind of
Mhm,
like aerobics, like what we did back in the
mhm.
day, plus like some Oli lift, like Olympic lifting stuff.
Okay.
So it's like high intensity training type things.
High intensity training. Yeah, you probably could do personal training and
Maybe. Well, I
you
don't know.
probably
Yeah, the
or
Ministry
let's
of Fitness is, yeah, we're
Ministry of
that.
Fitness. Do you have like a personal trainer or someone you work with, like a group of people?
No, I just go to the
No.
class. Like
Okay.
you pay to go to a gym, and then they just have daily
Mhm.
classes, and so there's a coach at every class. So whatever the
Okay.
coach is who coaches us.
Okay. And now tell me some more about like your favorite like cheat days. Like
Cheat day, like food wise.
yes. Yes.
Well, for sure, a little bit of tequila. I like I said, burritos. I'm here for
Okay.
tacos.
Think that to me is still healthy. Maybe I'm
Really?
wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Bur
think my burritos aren't that healthy. Maybe they are.
They
Like
are okay.
queso and sour cream and like all the
Uh,
goods.
uh,
Um, ch-
like what
uh,
about junk food?
Junk food. I love chips. So any salt and vinegar
Okay.
chips I'm here for. I'm not a
Yeah.
big sweet eater. Like I'm not into I love Sour Patch Kids and Dots, which is like the weirdest candy ever.
Yeah.
Um but anything else like Snickers, I'm not like a big like candy person like that. I would do more like
Mhm.
chips or pretzels or like salt stuff.
Right. And then we are actually recording this on the Lord's Day on a Sunday.
You were right.
And you usually like go to church sometimes or
Only
not
during
really?
like Christmas. There's one
Only,
there's
no.
like this super progressive church right by my house. I just found it like a year ago and I've been here for like 13 years. But
Mhm.
I went there this past Christmas and I'm gonna go there again this year. It was like an hour, it was outdoors, it was quick, really cool group of humans. And I'm gonna continue to go there.
I think that's awesome. Hey,
Yeah.
wherever you can get it. Like, and
Right?
I love the holiday ones too. The holiday.
I know.
Like,
I'll go a little more
hi,
frequently.
it's Christmas again. I
Yeah.
hear you. Like, I'm back.
See you next year.
Right. See you next year. I've totally done that. Completely understand. No judgment.
You know how it is.
I need an in-person one because right now I'm like having to go online. So if you guys can give some suggestions,
Hit your girl
would
up.
be totally into it. Yeah, hit your girl up
Yeah.
on where did you say our handles? I'm on
Yeah.
Book of
Yeah.
Faces. It's part of my show.
Where do you find you? Are you on Instagram?
um, no, I
I
call
said I
it
didn't think I
Insta
could
Thought.
find you.
No, I'm not an Insta Thought at all. Mm-mm. I don't
I
do.
like that
I'm
Insta
kind
thought.
of
We're going
on
with it.
Twitter. I'm kind of on
Okay.
Twitter. At Hot Sessions 123. Also, Book of Faces, as we call it on my show. At Honey99. So,
Oh, I love it.
and I do have another handle, Coffee Olay, on Book of Faces as well. So
Boom.
that's pretty much it. Like, I'm not big on social media. I remember when we didn't really have it, back in college. Do you remember when Book of Faces was just for people in college?
I do. Well, I was just out of
You
college. So like 2008
Uh-huh.
is I think when I got on. So I was out like 4 years
Mhm,
out.
mhm.
But yeah, it's everything. I've done a little bit of speaking and I say I think social media will become completely taboo and not cool.
Yes.
So I think
Like
it already
social media
is, but
before. Like it was so cool because it was like, okay, it was only for college students and then it opened up to like, okay, friends who
mhm,
knew you or friends of friends, like that was still cool. Family
mhm.
members, that was still cool. And then it was like they opened it to every single body, like anyone can
Mhm.
find you now. It can be
It's a lot.
a bit, yeah, it is a lot now. Like, and then I remember when we just only had MySpace, when we had like the one friend, everyone had that one friend. I don't know if
Tom
you're
or whatever. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I wonder how he's doing.
I know. Was that a real human?
Yes, he's a real person.
Okay.
At least I think so.
Maybe it was
Like
God.
MySpace
God
is
was
so
showing up
much.
digitally.
Yeah, like you could have music on your page. Like people would have all
I
the
remember all
glitter
this.
and all of that.
Yeah.
Did
Yep.
you have a MySpace page?
I absolutely did. And I had Justin Timberlake's My Love, one of my favorite songs ever, as my
What?
song. Yep.
Yeah, that is when his album came out.
Yeah.
So
Way
it's
back. Way back.
awesome. Well, I mean,
Cool.
this was really fun for us to talk.
Yes.
I hope this was good for you. We
Heck
did
yeah.
a mashup episode. Like, who'd ever thought?
I love it.
Um, and I just think that you're awesome. I feel like if I came to your house, we would just be sipping, having some brunch,
Yes.
go outside by like the sea,
Yes.
and just get our mats out and just do some light stretching and stuff like that. Like that
Let's
would just be
let's
like an
make that
awesome.
happen at some point.
Okay, girl, hit me
I'm
up,
serious.
and
When
I will definitely hit you up when I get my mansion. Okay, so
please
you
do.
have your
Yes.
own room.
When I get my choir, I'm gonna call you and consult and be like, what do I need to do
Yes,
here? What's up?
I
What's up
wanted
with
to hear
this?
more about that.
I
Like
don't you
seriously,
heard all of it. That was it right there. I do actually have
that's it.
a playlist
Okay.
on Spotify where I know the songs I even want. So it's a whole thing,
Yes,
but
hit me up. Send me
okay.
that playlist. I need
Okay.
to hear. Girl, that you singing my language,
Hey,
literally. Okay.
we'll see. We'll
I love
see.
it. Like
Yes.
like for listeners out there, like just picture like you're on the beach and there's like a house on the beach and there's like, sheets just billowing in the light
Yes.
sea breeze. And then you're just having like some nice mats by the beach side. You have people like bringing a fruit platter and
Oh
little
my
bottomless
gosh.
mimosas. Like, doesn't it sound
Yes.
heavenly?
Oh my god. Yes.
Okay.
Your lips to
Let
God's
me leave
ears,
you with
please.
that. What happened?
I said your lips to God's ears, please. 100%.
Yes, like we need to get Kristen to have that. Let's make that happen for Shorty. She
And you too.
deserves it. She's a
Hey.
regular. Yeah, like I
Too
would totally
nice.
be a guest.
Yeah, don't leave yourself out. You can have the mansion right next
Okay.
door. Let's just have a collective beach here.
Okay, let's have a collective beach and we can invite like some of our awesome people who can hit us up, get some
Yeah.
massages, y'all. How y'all like
Yes.
that?
Say
And
it.
fully in your robe. Okay.
I'm with it.
Yeah,
I'm
getting
with
your hair laid, getting like some spa
Yes.
treatments. Okay. That's probably what she does on the low. That's probably why she looks so young, but she don't want to tell
No,
us.
I need to do more. No, the budget, all
Uh-huh.
that goes to fitness.
Okay.
But in due time, yes, I'm here. I actually think massages, facial, all that stuff's really important. So we're creating more budget for that. So I'm glad you just said that. Put that out into universe. We're here for it.
Okay, we're totally down. Okay, well, as we always say on the Coffee Sips Tea podcast, I'm your host, Call Me Coffee, coming to you with another epi, and me and Kristen are saying
Bye. Thank you for
bye.
the time and energy.
Yes, absolutely, and that is a wrap.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.